So the first one is talking about Mars. You are ruled by fire, Mars, and it tries to give us information pertaining to the projection that we make of ourselves, both inwards and outwards. Yeah. Then,
You can say the personality, maybe somewhere.
pardon?
I am
Image is
personality.
personality. Na? Image itself is persona.
Yeah.
We can treat it that way. Oh, sorry, previous. So the second one is Earth, ruled by Venus.
Okay.
Fixed Earth, Venus, what you value and what you think you have. So how do you put that? Earth is measuring, shall we say, worth?
What am I worth?
What am I worth and what you think you have?
Yeah. That's what he said. Yeah, you said here. Yeah, what you. Correct. Yeah, what would think about? Yeah.
Okay. So this is which one? Okay.
Earth. After the Earth.
After Earth, it is mutable air, Mercury.
Okay.
Third house.
Mercury means Buddhudu. Buddhagram.
Budhudu. How you communicate and what is said. Because air has got everything to do with communication. What is said? Siblings, short trips, mental habits, neighbors, and writing.
Oh, these are all communication skills, sir.
No, but what is said is okay. Okay, we will build on it. We don't know where to pose it. It is not just communications and relationships, I think.
Correct. Siblings and mental habits. Yeah.
So, if this is communication and relationships, very good. What is the next one? Cardinal water, moon sign. Right? Your roots, origins, home, and family. Also, the ending of your life.
Okay.
So, this has got everything to do with family. Beginning and so if we are taking family perspective, beginning and ending is very important. Roots is beginning. This is ending.
Yes.
Right? But life after life, this is changing.
Yeah.
Right? So that is fourth house. Fifth house, fixed fire. Sun. What was the first one then?
Air fire. What is that? Cardinal fire. He says cardinal fire.
We need to understand more. When we read that, I think Maybe if this is, we'll first complete the four houses in that case
Yeah.
and then come. Otherwise, we'll not be able to create the methodology that we need to follow.
Correct.
हाँ यार हाँ तो चलिए फर्स्ट डोमेन इन डिटेल इसको पढ़ नहीं ये पढ़ लिया ना कल
No, I don't think we did. The first domain we did not.
no
Do
yesterday we
not
read
have.
no we read it ma'am
I think so too, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. After completing this assessment, notice, yeah, what elements? Yeah, correct.
correct we did that
Yes, yes. And she gave an example of hers and her friends.
yeah
Yeah,
so
we
having
finished.
planets in the I
We
think
finished all this.
did we finish this also yeah so this is where we left is it yesterday no
Correct.
once yeah we had come
Little
up to
further.
this okay unmasking yourself yesterday that was understanding yourself shall we do it once again
Little bit one para we can go before and that way we can connect. Yeah, illuminations we can.
yeah
I
we
am is the
did
key. Yeah, I am is the key phrase for the first astrological house. Planets in this house introduce you to others without you doing anything. Even
Mm.
if your first house is empty of planets, the rising sign still puts something forward. If you know your rising sign, you can learn about the you that people first encounter by finding it in this list of I am statements. I
okay
am
but
bold.
then what is a rising sun what does that mean in astrology rising sun also known as the ascendant lagna
Uh-huh.
is the
Lagna
zodiac
depends.
sign on the eastern horizon at the moment of the birth. For example, mine is Libra.
So when you are born, whatever zodiac sign is that at that time.
Correct. And then you have the current, which is the transition.
Hmm.
The term rising sun and ascendant are interchangeable in astrology. The rising sun is considered crucial in astrology because it dictates how you present yourself to the wow. That is the first house.
Yeah. How others see you. I am okay.
Okay.
Personality
Yeah.
and your
Relation
situations.
to sun and moon. While sun sign represents your core identity, the moon sign reflects your emotional nature. The rising sun shows how you interact with the world and how others perceive you. Finding your You can find your rising sun by using online tools, birth chart calculators, or consulting with an astrologer. You can analyze birth time and location to determine ascendant. Okay. So very clear. It is the ascendant.
Yeah. So I
If you
am
were
statements are
born in Aries, if your rising
mhm.
star is Aries, then I am bold.
Correct.
Because yesterday
So
we
for
didn't
the
know how to interpret this. Now we know. So I am a helper and I am a harmonizer
mm,
in my case. So somebody else, if
and
it is Taurus, I recollect, I know
mm,
someone in our house who from the childhood, I have seen them sit in front of the mirror and appreciate themselves.
oh
Okay. So that means, ma'am, this is throwing so much information, right? If
Correct.
somebody is a
And also,
Taurian, you praise them, tell them how beautiful they are and all, although they are under your control then.
yeah, and then my husband is Scorpio. I'm a prober, so that is always he's inquisitive to
Correct.
learn or yeah. So okay, so everything starts always with Aries. Yeah, I think the other chart also in
Correct.
perceives. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
Now,
see, my
what
daughter
is he
is
saying?
like,
Having planets in the first house will enhance and color the impact of this first impression. In the
hmm,
first house, if he is talking about planets, I am crowded with planets. I have 4
oh.
planets in the first house. Let us see what it means. For
So for
example,
example,
ah,
yeah, this is we have gone through. See, yeah, she says she talks about her friend who has Leo rising but no planets in her first house. She has
hmm,
many of those creative, expressive, loving Leo qualities, but might have expressed them more
I'm saying,
fully
let
or
us see
along.
what is Leo. I am a performer. Okay. So if one is
So
a
she,
performer, definitely creativity, very strong
yeah, and
Swadhisthana.
planets it's her house. So, and although I am receptive, open, optimistic, yeah, see here she says, but might have expressed them more fully or along added dimensions if she also had planets in her first house. And although I am a receptive, open, optimistic, dorky kind of person with adventurous, outgoing, celebratory Sagittarius rising, having Saturn and Mars in my first house, it has created a pattern where people who don't yet know me feel scared of and intimidated by me. I always have to apologize for this at some point. The words I
Oh,
am
now,
have a
how do
great
you decide Saturn and Mars in my first house? So how will you know that?
depending upon the chart, I think.
No, no, the chart is fine. But how do you
Mm.
interpret Saturn and Mars? Maybe reading further, we may get that this one.
So
The
the words
words
I am
I
have
am,
it has a great deal of power. I learned a great exercise of saying 25 I am 25 words I am statements a day about my positive qualities. I am kind, I am gracious, and so on. And to also state 20 I am positive phrases about my body. I am beautiful, I am ageless, I am smooth, and so on. Affirmation, positive affirmations. Knowing about the archetypes represented by my rising sign, and the
planets
the
in the
planet
first house,
chart.
knowing
It
about the,
helps.
what is that?
Yeah,
Archetype.
it represents archetypes. Archetypes represented by my rising sign and the planets in the
Okay,
first
one
house
sec.
of my
Let us find out that.
archetypes. Okay. Oh, their planets are like characters in the grand drama of your life.
Yeah, 449. No. What is this book? Is it there? I have it in Scribd. Scribd, I have membership, so I can download. Will get. This is how you get books, ma'am.
Mm,
You search on Amazon,
yeah.
and
And
then if
then
it
go
is
and
available on Scribd or other places, Kindle as free and all that, then I download it.
okay.
But US, that is a membership, sir, for Scribd.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
member.
I think. Okay.
Is
So I think US it costs about $10 or something like that. I saw.
10 or
per month.
7, 7, I think, right?
They
At a
increased.
time, I share mine with my son-in-law.
Okay.
I get a lot of benefits through my son-in-law that way.
Okay. Very good.
For example, all the entire Microsoft suite is
Uh-huh.
$10 per month
Wow.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us read Gods and Planets. Okay. I think this book we should read.
Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune.
We will just take one as an example. Then we will anyway read.
Saturn, a new age began with the castration of Uranus. Heaven and earth were now separated. In the place of abundance, excess, and timelessness, Kronos, which is a Saturn, now instituted measure and measured time. He established his dominion, made regulations, and set limits. He banished everything threatening and all competitors to Tartaros, the
The
underworld.
underworld,
Oh,
Patala
underworld.
Lokam.
He held his brothers in chains and ruled as sole authority as king. Rhea, one of the daughters of Uranus and Gaia, wed him, but Kronos lived in fear. He knew that he too would be castrated by a strong sun and robbed of his power, for Uranus and Gaia had predicted so.
So, which means
Kronos
he would
was
have actually, I think he would have started with sun and moon, and how those two gave birth to all this, I think. It's very interesting, actually. Maybe we should read the introduction more than anything else.
in this chapter, introduction, in this chapter, certain fundamental ideas will be introduced and several concepts clarified. The impatient reader who would like to skip the introduction should read at least the passages about the concepts of the symbol and projection in order not to approach the text entirely unprepared, having in mind a different understanding of these concepts than the one intended since they are not explained elsewhere. It is
Correct.
erroneous to believe that astrology exists as a clearly delineated intellectual edifice or areas of knowledge. This is not the case because astrology was banished from public consciousness for centuries, but also because it has to do with the cosmic conditionality of the psyche, with certain aspects of the human being in regard to which there are no definite pronouncements. Depending on the epoch and the culture, the images of humankind and the human soul change as the various philosophical trends and more recently the various psychological schools show. There
Mm.
never has, so
Yeah.
it keeps changing. There never has been a unified body of astrological knowledge. Today, that is the case more than ever before. There has always been only the astrology of the astrologer with his or her personal background, his or her personal character. As a consequence of the purely rational direction of science in our times, today people in astrology generally still try to follow the approach of the natural sciences and to count astrology among the objective sciences. Psychology, too, when it is included among the sciences, is usually only accepted if it is a psychology of consciousness and thus, so to speak, the opposite of depth of psychology, which addresses itself precisely to the unconscious parts of the psyche.
Correct. In this book,
In this book, I am not aiming for scientific observation, but I will refer to certain interrelationships in which I see the basis for a possible scientific approach to astrology. It
I
is
think
now
this makes a
widely
lot of sense because if we read and understand this, I think our chapters pertaining to astrology in thinking and destiny will have solid foundation.
Hmm. Correct. It is now widely accepted in the domains of scientific observation that when it is observed when is observed in what is observed includes the observer. That the notion of a clean separation of subject from object is an illusion. See, this is the philosophy he's bringing here.
Correct.
That objective is not possible in the scene once postulated. Indeed, that the observer and the observed coincide. Yeah,
Hmm.
and this is the most certainly true when the observed and the observer are of the same nature.
Hmm.
Jungian, what
Ah,
is Jungian? Jungian
Jung,
psychology.
Carl Jung.
Jungian. Carl Jung. Okay.
Yeah.
Jungian psychology and modern physics have created new conditions for a renewed holistic view of the world in which the external world and the inner world of the soul are no longer seen as fundamentally separated from one another.
Yeah.
In this
All of you
context,
can do one thing. To cast your chart, you can go elsewhere, pick it up. Otherwise, that P.V. Narasimha Rao in the US, he has written a beautiful application, very, very detailed. He's an astrologer himself. I think he's somewhere in Seattle or somewhere, I think somewhere there,
He's
right?
in Boston, sir.
He's in Boston, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I've been following him for since my childhood. Very
I
smart.
think he recently came and we met him in somebody's house a few months
Quite
ago.
possible. Yeah. So he has written one app by name Jagannatha Hora,
Mm,
J Hora,
correct.
right? You can download it and cast your own horoscope. Because all we are interested in which house, which planet.
Mm,
In the psychological astrology, which is something very useful, even if you want to cure yourself from the health perspective and all, because the impressions that you are creating through your behavior in your day to day. Now I understand because I had visited one astrologer maybe about 10, 15 years ago. He used to talk about medical astrology.
oh,
It seems one branch of astrology is medical astrology.
wow.
So this makes a lot of sense now. I mean, I'm able to. No, why I said that is if we have our chart in front of us and we read these topics, we will be able to assimilate that content very easily because it directly applies to us.
And also,
Yeah.
because he says the physical body and the soul, they're only no longer seen as fundamentally separated, we can come out of our, if you understand properly, we can assess our life purpose exactly.
Yes, 100%. Beautifully said. Right.
Sir, one question on this. The external world and the inner world of the soul, does it mean the nature and Atma or the soul?
No. See, next. See
What is external world?
External world is the way
We perceive.
I mean, the impressions surrounding you. Look at it that way.
I mean,
using our senses, how we
impressions
perceive.
no,
of
just
you.
1 second, please. Impressions of others, you mean? As we read in the other book?
No.
So impressions
One
come
sec,
from other
sir.
people around.
Sir, I'm taking you there. 1 minute. Just give me a minute. I'm just trying to look at which one is that presentation where
created new conditions for a renewed holistic view of the world. Yeah, inner and outer, that is the holistic view, but of the soul. And again, world, meaning, is it just the earth or is it the entire cosmos?
Universe, cosmos.
Cosmos completely, that's what the world is. Then
Yes,
holistic view of the world, we can never have it. In which the external world and the inner world of the soul are no longer seen as fundamentally separated from one another. I mean,
correct.
does it mean that we are part of the nature and so we go along
We
with
are.
the,
We
that
are in
concept?
reality.
Is it?
No, in reality, we are, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Is that what he is saying? See, I mean, in reality, we are part of evolution. We are just part of the nature anyway.
Correct. So,
But we have analyzing capacity in order to view nature as if we are
correct, sir.
outside.
No, correct. Now, see, you have your higher self, which is part and parcel of the universe.
Right.
You are also a soul inside this body, which is the doer in the body,
Yes.
right? What
Yes.
is outside the body is external.
No, but
What is outside the body is the external universe or external world.
I think he's talking about external world of the soul.
Sir, you are the soul.
Right. But it is not the body. Outside the soul, it is
No,
the
no,
body that
outside
we
the
have.
soul is your what you
Body.
are outside, the impression of your soul outside this body.
Maybe. Anyway, I mean, that's okay. I don't want to take much of the time from everybody. Let's,
No, you're not taking time. See,
because to me, see, outside the soul is the body, and body is nature. And the inner world of the soul is something that we
sir,
realize. Go back.
sir, please, while reading, I would suggest, right? You read these two together and you read of the soul. That is, this bracket is applicable to this. Are you getting me? So,
External.
when you are reading, you will read this way.
Oh, but two different parts, is it not, sir? External world of the soul and the inner world of the soul.
Correct, sir.
These are two
Now,
different.
no. One second.
Okay.
I'm just searching where I have some space. Okay, right? You, or for that matter, me, is equal to, how do I put sigma? I can't put that symbol. So,
No, write sigma, that's all. Yeah. You don't have to write.
okay, is equal to
Sigma.
sigma,
Yeah.
right? Me in this life.
Body. In this
Right?
body.
Now, in this life, plus my earlier plus
Line. Okay.
is this correct?
No, normally to me means only in this life. We don't really.
No. See, that is because
Oh.
you are looking at yourself not as the soul, but as Ramakrishna,
Yeah.
this life.
That's right. That's all that
Right?
I see
So
normally.
now all the others become external world for you then.
Yeah.
Now you have understood the sentence then.
Okay. Sir, this typing error, me in me,
Okay. Yeah.
me in this,
Right.
in this
Me
also.
in this life.
The
Okay.
DS. This need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Now, me in this life, plus my earlier lives, plus yet to come lives.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
So
So
whole of that.
now, if I put one bracket here and one more bracket here. Okay. Right. Are you able to create your inner world and external world? If
Okay.
you are the soul, you got an internal world and an external world.
Okay. So this life and any others.
Yeah.
Totally it is Akashic record.
But do you see your own sentence when you said me means this life?
Yeah.
You said this Ramakrishna. Me means
Yes.
this body.
Right.
That is
Right.
exactly what he has said.
And
Jungian
our
psychology, Carl Jung's psychology, and modern physics have created new conditions for a renewed holistic view of the world in which external world and inner world of the soul are no longer seen as fundamentally separated from one another.
that's of course.
That means you are a holistic view.
Yeah. You are
You are
same.
not a partial view, you are a holistic view.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, this makes it too big and it goes beyond the limits. Okay. Okay. Right. So, if this is what you are, this whole thing is you, actually.
Right. No matter which Janma it is
Exactly.
your Atma. No matter,
Right?
yeah.
So, what he's saying is this psychology, Carl Jung's psychology, is seeing the whole thing as one entity. It is not seeing it as discrete.
Okay. So this life and all other lives.
Yeah. So now, in this context,
yeah,
ma'am, you can continue.
Yeah.
In this context,
it has become possible to approach astrology with fewer reservations, and by virtue of this, astrology gains a new power to attract in that it approaches a holistic understanding of humankind and the world. That means
right?
together.
Yes.
Everything
Sarvam
connected.
Kalvidam Brahma.
Correct. Holistic understanding.
Correct.
We live in a time of transition from causal mechanistic thought to a view that is again holistic.
Correct.
So causal mechanistic thought.
You start with a causal. You take a cause and effect approach and then move towards holistic. Beautiful.
In scientific observation, up until now, the world, that is the observer and likewise the object of observation, was dissected into its basic components, components which were linked with each other in a mechanical causal relationship, which were separated in space and which differed from each other. Separated in space. Since Einstein's discovery of the theory of relativity, the relativity of space and time has entered our consciousness. Knowledge of his quantum theory that both matter and energy have a double character as continuous waves or discrete particles has fundamental implications not only for physics but likewise for psychology. Gradually, these insights have also penetrated public consciousness. Popular publications of modern physicists have achieved an astonishing circulation. There is obviously a need for a new worldview. At least there is a receptivity to one, since the preceding one-sided rational development has led to overly technologized ways of living that are perfectly organized in every detail but devoid of meaning. See, he is saying that waves, and when we observe, it becomes
Correct. So
particle.
instead of viewing at it as separate entity, look at them together.
Observer and object are to be
Which is
observed.
exactly what happens to us when we sit in meditation. We go beyond the contours of this physical body.
Correct. When we observe, yeah.
Correct.
When we observe, the observer and object of observation becomes one of the
Exactly.
swasa. Yeah, one with the breath. Modern physics has again made possible a holistic organic worldview. The notion of the universe as an unbroken whole in flowing moment. All parts are joined by indivisible links so that ultimately it is impossible to fragment the world into parts existing independent of each other. So this
is where the quantum physics and Newtonian physics differ.
And same thing Chopra shows that lines of dots are connected.
Correct.
The whole parts are mutually necessary categories and each implies the other. Every human being is not only a self-contained creature, but also bound to the whole, including nature and the rest of humankind. This does not question the significance of the individual. Every part, each element of the whole is in itself a relatively stable, autonomous, independent whole. Okay.
Which is very true, right? See, you take one single cell of yours, it has got the entire system of the body replicated and impressed on it.
Yes. And at the same time, that's what Yad Brahmande Tat Pindande.
Exactly.
The whole universe is existing in our body, means we are all connected. Every human being, every nature particle.
Yeah.
These findings of modern physics are in agreement with the ideas of C.G. Young, or who is younger, who is in 1950 wrote about the complementary relationship between psychology and atomic physics, and spoke about the interface between the psychic realm, the archetypal structures of the unconscious psyche, and the physical domain. Oh, that relation he came up with in 1950.
Yeah. So that means this is something that some of the psyches have in the past put together anyway. Right? It is only a question of us understanding. Yeah, let's go further.
He was of the opinion that a universal divine principle could be rediscovered even in the most minute part, and that consequently even the smallest part was in agreement with and participated in the whole.
Correct.
The principle of analogy.
If you really try to take what Dr. Bruce Lipton writes about us. We are a collection of 70 to 100 trillion cells. We are a community. We are not Ramakrishna, we are not Chandra, we are not the Balagaru and so on. We are a community.
Yes.
Right? And within the community, you have got an identity.
Correct. Unique identity, yes. But that's
and
why
together we become one. Together we become one.
That is what unified course, we go through.
Exactly.
The principles of analogy states, by virtue of his microcosmic nature, man is a son of the ferment or macrocosm. See, by virtue of his
microcosmic nature, Brahmanda, he has put it in English.
Yeah, macrocosm. Here, the great principle or beginning heaven is infused into man, the microcosm, who reflects the star natures, and thus, as the smallest part and end of the work of creation. It contains the whole expressed in modern language, the microcosm, which contains the images of all creation, would be the collective unconsciousness.
Correct.
Okay.
Young is collective. Yeah.
To unconscious as the foundation, the fundamental human psychic endowment and precondition containing the fundamental abstract structures for all the possibilities of human experiencing. Okay, the archetypes of the collective unconscious are the form giving patterns or structures in the human psyche. So that our patterns, the psychic
Then,
patterns.
look at this sentence. How well it coincides with what we know. The form giving patterns or structures. Right? That means you are in the psychic plane.
Correct.
Right? We are taking a different view of the same psychic destiny that we are reading.
Correct. Yeah. We humans can become conscious of them only by seeing them in images and experiences outside of ourselves.
Then look at this seeing. This seeing is within quotations. So what does that mean?
Yes.
You see it with your third eye or the body eye and so on.
So you need to go beyond your
exactly. You need to go beyond your physicality.
Yeah.
Which means you have to compartmentalize yourself.
Yeah.
And those compartmentals will be guided by your star that you have put together. That means your spiritual goals and the physical goals.
Correct.
The collective?
The collective is the totality of all possible psychic structures in humankind. But every individual likewise contains the collective unconscious, a part and yet the whole in flowing moment. Here there is a close connection with Johannes Kepler, the great astronomer and astrologer of the 16th and 17th centuries. Kepler summarized his insights in his magnum opus, Harmonices Mundi, the harmony of the world, corresponding to the harmonic structures of the universe. He saw in humankind an inherent structure that he called the geometric instinct.
This I think becomes the sacred geometry, if I am not mistaken.
Correct. Geometric
I think
instincts
let
in man.
Let us search this book.
Oh, Pythagoras to have. That is what I think different symbols.
Maybe I will get it in Scribd and then post it later. See, you want a complete view of something, we have to read so many books. Harmonics Mundi. No. If it is only 3 pages, 4 pages, that is not the book. Okay, we'll come to that later. Okay. Corresponding to the harmonic structures of the universe.
So it corresponds, this book corresponding to the harmonic structures of the universe, he saw in humankind an inherent structure that he called the geometric instinct in man. This instinct enabled human beings also to perceive the geometric structures of the outer world and even those of the universe and to respond to them in analogies. Kepler was of the opinion that the stars exert an influence on human beings thanks to their emitting light to geometry and to the geometrically changing figures that they create among themselves. But above all, he saw the corresponding formative power in human beings that very same geometric instinct through which the soul responds to the geometric constellations and gives them form in life. The soul
That
begins
is the
to dance.
interaction. See, that is the interaction between the external world and the internal world.
Correct. The soul begins to dance in response to the enticement of the universe. The ear can hear the harmonies. The eye cannot see the geometries, but can, in analogy to recognizing the harmonies, recognizing them.
So if this is what is there in your environment, as your consciousness increases, I'm sure we will be able to see them. Is that an interpretation we can take from this sentence?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Hmm.
I don't know what this for he has written. It says recognizing, then there is a superscript 4.
No, that will be some
Moment and
reference book.
okay.
This is what it
The
is. Why don't you read it once?
vital capacity of man contains not only the harmonies peculiar to the rays of the stars, but also those inherent in the phenomena of sound itself. Man's vital capacity drinks tones with ears like an object that belongs to them. But it takes in the radiations of the stars not with the eyes, but rather by means of the dark ways and means of knowing described above, and it tests them against the ideas of harmony related to them. For that which offers itself to the eyes serves discursive knowing, discursive knowing, but knowledge of the harmonies comes to pass without conceptualization.
So
Okay, let's
harmonies
go.
is more the synchronicity as well as the lack of it. Both are there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's continue.
Movement and rhythm, so we learn again from modern physicists, are essential characteristics of matter. Oh, movement and rhythm.
Which
Kepler
is quantum
arrived at the.
physics, particles and waves theory.
Isn't it that creates vibration?
Yes. Because it is vibrations, it is particle and wave, both.
Yeah.
The other way
Kepler
around.
arrived
Yeah.
at the same
I
insight
think
on the basis
it
of
is
observing the
something
solid heavenly
frequency
body.
and the wavelength.
Yeah, both will be there. Yeah.
Right. It is that's what he is talking about, I think, anyway. So because the frequency is the one that decides, and also magnitude also counts, but that's a different
Correct.
issue. It is the
That
speed
is
of the
what is the
movement of the
movement and
wave.
rhythm. It
Yeah,
depends.
dynamic.
Frequency is the rhythm.
Yeah, right. Frequency is the rhythm, and the length, wavelength also he is talking about.
Yeah.
So that decides the speed of the wave.
True.
Of the dynamic energy, but we're not talking about the static energy again.
No, it is there. No movement and rhythm. He's not giving you a direction, but he's not treating it as a scalar also.
Yeah, it is moving.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Kepler arrived at the same insight on the basis of observing the solid heavenly bodies, the planets. And both Kepler and Young, as well as modern physicists, saw in human beings corresponding structures that enable humankind to be cognizant of these interconnections. Analogies in the sight to the structures of the outer world, the cosmos, analogies between the whole and the part.
So this is how it is part and whole.
Yeah.
He has given you a diagram also. Instruction in astronomy from Lucidarius, 1479.
I don't know how they came up with all this. Against the background of these sorts of interconnections, Jung said astrology consists of symbolic configurations, just as does the collective unconscious with which psychology is concerned. The planets are the gods, symbols of the powers of unconscious.
So what he is saying
Here,
is astrology consists of symbolic configurations just as does the collective unconsciousness, with which psychology, that means that particular person's psychology. That is why in bracket he has written his psychology.
Psychology, correct. The individual psychology.
Yeah.
Here we must
Ah,
here we must pay attention more penetratingly to the concept of the symbol, since understanding the symbol is a fundamental precondition for understanding the traditional content of astrology and correctly relating to it.
hmm,
Among astrologers today, it is generally agreed that astrology is to be understood symbolically, and by this they mean in an extended sense.
correct.
In the In the general understanding of symbols, we again encounter two fundamentally different views of the world.
Correct.
Okay,
Manifested
let's
and
go.
unmanifested, understood and misunderstood, both.
Correct. One group uses the symbol as metaphor, as an image for a certain abstract rational concept. From this group, we often hear expressions like we must understand that symbolically, or we have to take that as a symbol. And this means only as a sign for something that could be expressed rationally just as well or even better.
Hmm.
According to this view, symbolic thought as a pre-national thinking belongs to an early stage of a human development. In the causal mechanistic worldview of astrologers of this caste, symbolic ciphers are still utilized because they are part of astrological tradition.
Hmm.
Different point of view holds that the symbol represents a power that exceeds the rational consciousness of humankind and cannot be grasped causally. This concept of the symbol is, for all practical purposes, lost to contemporary usage, along with the holistic worldview to which it belongs. This usage must appear suspect to a concretistic and deterministic worldview. With a holistic view now possible once more, the concept of the symbol has attained a new meaning, and not only in depth psychology. For example, it occupies a central position in the work of theologian and philosopher of religion Paul Tillich,
Which?
whose argument I follow in the subsequent reflections, which also take into consideration the astrological context. Tillich identifies five characteristics of the symbol. A symbol is a plastic. It has the form perceptible to the senses. It points beyond itself. It is itself not the thing meant, but points to something that cannot be grasped immediately or not as a whole, to something that at that moment exceeds comprehension.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
he-
So how
this
does this
characteristic,
impact? Yeah.
this characteristic always holds true for astrological symbols, planets, signs of the.
Hmm.
Okay, they
Hmm.
are phenomena in the heavenly perceptible to the senses,
Hmm.
and in them we experience more than planetary laws, more than causal realities. We experience our condition of subjection to something transcending the human being.
Hmm. Okay.
Taken by itself, the symbol is of no significance. Rather, it participates in the reality of that to which it points. So by itself, it doesn't have significance, but
identified by Truecaller.
One second.
yeah.
Hello. let's continue. Yeah. Taken by itself.
By itself, a symbol, for example, a number of stars that with goodwill we could take to represent a bull, is not yet of any significance. Only the return of various constellations at specified times and places, and the experience of certain qualities of light or warmth and cold, and this within a reliable cycle year after year, permits us to intuit cosmic interconnections that transcends us human beings.
Correct. So that means that gives rise to repeatable seasons and all those changes.
Symbols cannot be arbitrarily invented because they are not subjected to expediency or convention. They are born and die, to speak graphically.
Okay.
So born and die means they come and go.
They come and go.
The
That is one interpretation.
Yeah. Cosmic powers, moon, sun, stars, all are experienced as numinous and therefore conceived of as divine figures. The names have changed. The powers remain alive, and hence the symbols representing them in Egypt, Babylon, Greece, and in the Christian domain, they too cling tenaciously to life. For most people, they are now dead. From modern astrologers, we hear that modern astrology has only the names in common with the old planetary gods.
Correct.
Through the power of the symbol, dimensions of reality are disclosed that are usually concealed by the predominance of other dimensions. Through the power of the symbol, dimensions of reality are disclosed that are usually concealed by the predominance of other dimensions. But the human spirit could not comprehend these new dimensions if the symbol did not simultaneously open up a new dimensions in him.
So, I mean, if it is not existing in you, there will be no attraction. You will not be able to understand that. That is what he's saying. You will not connect to it.
That's why
like you are driving on a traffic. You are driving in a traffic. You are interested in a yellow car. Your eyes will focus only on the yellow car.
Correct. Religious symbols, for example, mediate the experience of the sacred by their parts.
Mediate the experience.
Sorry. Religious symbols, for example, mediate the experience of the sacred by their participation in the sacred. Encounters with sacred places, times, and images enable the individual to experience something of the sacred. And neither symbol nor religious experience can be rendered adequately in abstract terms. A symbol is an archetypal image
that represents.
Yeah, that represents one facet of that which itself gives form and shape. It works because it strikes corresponding structures in us humans, our geometric instinct. The fifth feature is the constructive ordering and the disintegrative, destructive power of the symbol. See, the fifth feature is the constructive ordering and the disintegrative, destructive power of the symbol. In general, we think only of its stabilizing, indeed healing power, but it takes both sides to make a whole. Hence, we will find both aspects in each astrological symbol. And the horoscope as a whole contains harmonious, stabilizing, and unharmonious, disruptive aspects, both negative and positive.
Correct.
The positive or negative effect of the symbol depends on the one hand, on the nature of that towards which the symbol points, and on the other, on the spirit in which we understand and encounter it. Taken in this sense, the myths of the planetary gods presented in this chapter are symbols. The myth, like the symbol, is a self-contained form that cannot be reduced or dissolved. In the myth, there is no distinction between part and whole. Each myth is a totality and simultaneously a part of totality. The part do not exist in and of themselves, but rather are ordered about a center from which they gain their form and their meaning. Likewise, myths viewed intrapsychically are parts of the soul as a whole, which potentially always embrace them. We can just as well regard myths as projections of the unconscious psyche, the collective unconscious. Here we must pause to consider the concepts of projection in order to understand how we can see the myths or symbols as projections of unconscious psychic contents.
फंस गए मैडम, कहां से कहां पहुंच गए? You see, the depth to which this is taking us is mind-boggling. At least I am finding it like that.
So he's saying how these symbols are the projections of unconscious, for ours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Psychologically, symbols are the result of projections of unconscious contents to external objects that either as a whole or thanks to certain of their component parts are suitable vehicles for the projections. By the term projection, we understand an emotional process taking place unconsciously that consists in this a part or a content of the soul or psyche not directly perceptible to consciousness. Hence, something non-material is externalized and thus projected to a concrete object like a film projected on a screen. In the view of the Jungian psychology, this process carries an overarching significance. For in this view, unconscious contents become accessible to consciousness exclusively via projection, except by way of feeling and intuition, which remains incomprehensible to a great extent. To make it graphic, one could say quite simply, since consciousness cannot
See into
see
unconscious inner realm.
unconscious inner realms, it depends on emanations and on their striking a suitable surface. Only then does consciousness see on this surface, on the carrier of the projection, a likeness of what originates from its inaccessible interior. So the projection, that is how, then only we can understand. Only then the consciousness sees on this surface and the carrier of the projections. Not until projected onto the screen of life or the heavens do we meet the inner powers as symbols outside of ourselves, and these symbols can have so strong a force to affect us because we relate them to the energies of our unconscious potential.
Now, this same thing, now just close your eyes and experience your aura. Right? What is the aura?
Yeah.
Aura is nothing but radiations of the parts inside the body which the system is throwing out.
Projection, that is also kind of projection.
Yeah, but then that projection is being modified not by the intent but by the breath.
Yeah.
Right? So if you really understand what he has stated, right, and apply the principle of you create your reality and try to realize that how is it happening, right, lot of clarity comes in, because while you are reading, that is where my mind was going.
Yes.
Yeah.
In sense, our entire experience of the world can be called a projection.
Beautifully stated.
We human beings can relate to the world of projection.
Sir?
Can we interpret this as Maya or illusion? what we see on a projected screen,
No,
that's all. So it isn't whole universe is an illusion. Is that what he's saying?
no, he is not
Simple
saying
term.
that. No, he is not saying that. What he is saying is what you interpret out of it depends upon your level of consciousness.
Yes, that of course, yeah. If you are more conscious of it, you would realize that it is untruth.
Correct.
Drishyam mithya. Is that
Correct.
what? Because our entire experience of the world can be called a projection.
It is a projection. Now, how you interpret the projection is up to the individual consciousness. What
True.
is getting projected is your thought energy.
True, because the characters on the screen think they are real.
Correct. Yeah.
So simple version is that, yeah, whole thing is a maya. Whole thing is a myth.
Yeah.
The higher consciousness that you go to, you will realize that this is a myth.
See, in
Although,
theory, it can be considered to be a myth, but in practice, it is what you experience.
right, yeah, because you have a role to play. You
Yeah.
cannot go above that role as consciousness. I
True. That's
hope.
also possible. Yes.
Yeah.
We human beings can relate to the world of projections or of symbols in many different ways. We can be completely consumed by the world of our outer phenomena, be joined with them in profound unconsciousness, and feel ourselves handed over to them as though to good or evil powers.
Hmm.
Then we experience ourselves as conditioned or dependent on the outer world. But viewed in the perspective of depth of psychology, we are conditioned by unconscious contents in ourselves that we project outward.
Hmm.
When this
No, no.
happens,
When H के जगह I आ गया है.
when this happens, it can be a question, speaking astrologically, of the various planetary forces or of the other contents that affects us as structures or gods. But we ourselves must recognize them as part of our own inner world.
Hmm. I think this interpretation is where an astrologer goes wrong.
That God is influence of this God, that God, they
No, no,
say.
not only that. Not only that. He gives a fixed reading based on his ability to understand that symbol. But then he also is subjected to the positive and the negative side of it, right?
That is why if we know, we can perceive positively instead of in the right direction. Yeah. Again and again in the course of our life, it is a question of becoming conscious, and that means recognizing projections and withdrawing them or taking back what we first had to project to the external world in order to see it at all. Thus, it is again a question of the relationship of the part to the whole. That means the connection.
Correct.
Always, you need this time of our relationship to our surroundings. Contents especially suited to being projected are so-called shadow aspected of ourselves, sides of ourselves that we don't want to see, even when we can see them. We project them to our fellows and battle them there. It is for us, as the others, a necessary and important step eventually to recognize and accept these projections as part of ourselves. To this extent, we come to terms with psychic material without costing us our relationships to reality. Rather, it can directly serve us in doing justice to reality. We take pains to see ourselves and our fellows more objectively, not covering up others with projections and not maintaining an idealized image of ourselves.
So this is the superimposition of the individual ego.
Correct. So more objectively means self, body
No,
self. Yeah.
without any constraints.
Oh, without any constraints. Okay.
So as is. Now what is happening? That template you are taking your ego impression of what that is getting conveyed to you through your senses.
Correct.
So
That's why
a
he
point of
says,
failure is introduced there in terms of your senses and its limitation. Like let's say I've got just one eye working. I don't see what's on this side, right?
correct. You
With
don't
one eye
360
closed, right? Now,
only.
so what is the impression I am taking? I am taking only a portion, not the whole, as is. That point is saying, if you are able to look at this more objectively, we take pains to see ourselves and our fellows more objectively, not covering up others with projections and not maintaining an idealized image of ourselves.
See, that is judging.
Correct. That's also judging. You're right. Above and beyond that,
And beyond that, every event of reality has reference to one's own side. I feel myself responsible for the reality outside of me because I affect it, because I have a part in it. I, as a part, cannot separate myself from the whole. Correct? Outer and inner worlds are mirrored in the horoscope. Cosmic
right.
factors are
Sir, now you get the picture of outer and inner.
Sure, yeah.
Is it-
Yeah.
Very, very clear. That means
Cos-
I am versus how am I being received? The full complement of who you are,
Yeah.
if you take your first sign, I am. And then the planet will give you the color of that I am.
Right. So
Right. Now,
what I think I am, rather
no,
than what I am, because I don't know what I am.
no, you know what you are. But
No, what I
how
think I
others
am.
receive your action, again, their template is going to get superimposed.
Yeah. Right. That impressions will be carried.
Correct.
how
Those
they
are the
perceive us.
impressions.
Yeah.
I tell you, amazing, ma'am. I don't know how we accidentally came on this, right? What clarity we are getting about the psychic destiny we are reading, how beautifully it is helping us.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Mother Universe is really great, ma'am. Then how did we land up in this book? Can you give me any logic? Because we purely surrendered to what was hitting us, we landed up here. The whole thing in actual this one, right?
Yeah.
Apply what we are reading to our own situation just now.
No,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what he is talking about, sir.
Yeah.
Chandra sir himself responsible for the reality outside himself.
I don't know. It is not Chandra, sir. Let me tell you, sir. When I am reading it alone, I don't get all these things. When we are all
Cosmic
together, I keep getting it.
I have a part in it, that's all.
Correct. All of us have a part in it.
True.
Then what you are telling me is what I read in my second standard in one Hindi book. It says, Chuha sabse balwan.
Right, yeah, that story I remember. No, but बलवान तो है, चूहा कह सकते हैं.
सबका बल एक आदमी को क्रेडिट नहीं दे सकते.
Anyway,
Yeah. Cosmic factors. Yeah.
In the horoscope. Cosmic factors are reflected in it, and as are collective human experiences. Oh, cosmic factors are reflected in it as are collective human experiences. In the astrological symbols, we meet projections of the collective unconsciousness. In that, each one of us, with a personal horoscope, he participates in the fundamental astrological patterns of all. We cannot avoid our role as part of the whole. On the other hand, as individuals, we cannot overlook the responsibility for the whole that falls to our lot as part of the whole, for the world surrounding us as well as for the people with whom we live. So everyone has effect.
This is exactly the example we were taking. If you read it, it means the same thing.
Yeah.
how did we land up in this book? If you consider that, it's a manifestation of what is written here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Even though the individual chart belongs to one individual, but it has a lot of effect of individuals surrounding him.
Correct.
Thanks to the personal horoscope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks to the horoscope, each of us is an irreplaceable individual, something indivisible, even when we consider the aspects and functions of the horoscope one at a time in order to understand them better. We
Hmm.
can look at the horoscope as an individual symbol which contains more of the individual than we can grasp at once or ever graphic material perceptible, but pointing to greater context and powers. So it contains more than the individual pattern. Okay. We could compare the horoscope to a dream. The individual elements of the dreams, states, mountain, house, woman are images we all know that all of us can dream. In this sense, they are collective symbols, but as images in my dream, brought together in this unique constellation by my unconscious, they are, and the dream is an individual symbol and therefore can be interpreted correctly only in conjunction with me.
Correct.
Person.
So you are the context when you are trying to read a dream. Sir, dream profile, Ramakrishna sir.
Yes,
How
sir.
dream profile needs to be utilized. No, the other Ramakrishna also, because we are doing that in spiritual tablets. That's one of the profile we create.
Yes, sir.
Right? See how beautifully, where all we are getting content pertinent to what we have to discuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how you interpret these, that's what, subject. In a manner of speaking, the personal horoscopes represents an individual's personal equation. Jung says it seems as though the horoscope corresponds to a certain moment in the conversation of the gods, that is, the archetypes of the psyche. This is an apt image of the constellation, the position of the planet vis-a-vis each other at the moment of birth. By contrast, it would be an error were we to assume that this constellation says anything about the content of the conversation. To fathom that, we have need, as Jung says, of both arts, astrology and the depth of psychology, and above all of lived life. The individual's response to the fundamental pattern inherent in himself or herself.
That means you need to understand the concepts of astrology and psychology as applied to the individual. Now I am able to understand the importance of psychological astrology.
Yeah, because that is why first we need to figure out one person by using all these four elementals characters.
What are the planets? Replace this with Sahasrara, ma'am, the symbol of Sahasrara in the middle.
Yeah.
So each petal of the flower is the tree of life, consisting of influences of all these individually and severally, both.
That is why on one individual, the influence is from so many different ways, so many different planets, individuals.
Look at this. What is this? The 7 planets with their signs and their children and their days of the week. The center is an aspect diagram in the center. Aspect diagram is the astrological chart.
Yeah.
बाप रे बाप मैम कहां से कहां गिर गए हम तो सोच रहे थे कि क्या बोलते हैं, thinking and destiny itself is a non-comprehensible word, right? It is pushing us deeper. I think understanding this becomes very, very important. The myths and are images of powers in the soul. Oh,
Basically, he says the myths are the powers of the soul.
and all this says is myths of the beginning. Ma'am, ये तो पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा.
So basically, when he says myth means the sign, symbol.
No. Myth means the assumption.
Oh,
See,
assumption.
you are
Okay.
creating a symbol out of the symbol, right?
Yeah,
Your interpretation,
of the symbol.
correct. Now, if I am giving a lecture and I interpret something and you take it as gospel truth, for you that becomes a myth.
Oh, okay.
Or it is your perception of what you really
That's
feel.
exactly what it is, no? What you
Because-
said, you gave it a different word.
Right.
But actually, in effect, the meaning is the same. What you
Yes.
said and what I said. Yeah,
That's what, yeah, it's trying
correct.
to
Perfect.
say.
My God, ma'am, कहाँ से कहाँ पढ़ गए, बाप रे, ये बुक क्लब अभी खत्म नहीं होगा लगता है. What is the time?
खत्म
Shall we do
होने का
another half
क्यों
an hour?
सोच रहा है आप? खत्म होने का क्यों सोच रहा है आप?
मतलब निकालना पड़ेगा ना.
नहीं नहीं, मतलब आपको निकालने का जरूरत नहीं है, हो रहा है वो.
वो हो रहा है, सरेंडर.
Right.
All we can see is Michael a singer through his surrender experiments. और कुछ तो नहीं. Ma'am, we'll stop here.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. In the East Coast, it is 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think we should stop the recording.